right. Looks like we are live. Well, it's been another fun week. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope everybody's going to have a great weekend with a long weekend. So I'm anxious to do a mic check. So if anybody's on here, looks like I got a lucky customer. I don't know if my mic is working. Seems like it is. I mean, I sound great, but I don't know if it goes through to anybody else. We have a couple of minutes left here before the big noon time. Oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's working. Hey, thanks a lot. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm still working my way through these lives. So everything is, every time I do it, it's new. If that means anything. But I appreciate the thumbs up and it's working. I mean, I watched a live a month or so ago of someone else, and the poor guy, his mic was off for like 12 minutes. He carried through his whole monologue, halfway through his monologue and everybody was jumping up and down in the chat, yelling and screaming at him, basically telling him that his mic was turned off until he finally looked. Poor guy. Anyways, I think for here on out, the first thing I'm going to do is do a mic check. So I appreciate that. Wait here for a second or two. Maybe a few more lucky customers will drop in. One of the things I like to ask right off the bat is, where is everybody from? Looks like I got one lucky one here so far, the helpful one to let me know if my mic was working. I appreciate that. Where are you coming in from? Kind of like to get an idea of who's dropping by, where they're from. What are we going to have for, Scotland? I'll be darned. Wow. That's amazing. Well, welcome aboard. Yeah, that's amazing. You never know. You know, I'm in North Idaho, the panhandle of Idaho State. Yeah. So in Scotland, what time is it in Scotland right now? I'm just curious. Oh yeah. 8 p.m. Fantastic. So it's not like one of those 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning deals for some people. I never know. I mean, obviously it's noon here, but 8 p.m. That's great. That's great. Well, I think, let's see here. I got a couple people jumping on. Fantastic. I appreciate it. So I'm trying to find out where everybody's tuning in from. And I mean, if you got any feedback on what you're gonna have for your carnivore meal tonight, if you're on carnivore, if you're lucky enough to. I, for one, I'm going to have my standard issue burger patties with butter. It was kind of funny. Before I got on here, I took a couple of patties out of the freezer to thaw out, and I unloaded about half of everything that was in the freezer onto the floor. It was kind of panic mode about 5 minutes before I got on here. But anyways, so I had some, I'm trying to get this started here. It's officially noon. Hopefully a few people will drop in. In case you're new here, my name's Luke, Captain Carnivore. I really appreciate you dropping by. Oh, 6 weeks in. Fantastic. 6 weeks. Nice job. I ask you right now, since it's you're the one of the two on here. Hey, how's it going for you after 6 weeks? You having any? I hope that you're past that initial hurdle of adjustment to your body. Take a sip of coffee here. It's one of the things that I'm coming up on. Actually, next month will be 3 years for eating carnivore with me, but I have not given up coffee, and which is fine. I don't mind having a few of the old school life traditions like coffee, because I've drank coffee all my life basically. But anyways, I wanted to share real quick. As far as me, major news for the channel. Last week I got monetized, and I want to thank everybody. I want to really, really show appreciation and thank everybody for supporting me and tuning in and watching videos and all that good stuff. I really, really appreciate it. It means the world to me. And I you may ask, well, what did you do to celebrate? Well, being carnivore, I went over to the freezer and I took out my favorite cut of meat, which is tri-tip, and threw it in my cast iron skillet and fried up some eggs. And I mean, that's the level of celebration I'm into. If I can find an excuse to take out some tri-tip from the freezer, it's a special occasion. Other than that, I'm just a burger, bacon, and egg guy. But so anyways, once again, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody that's helped in that regard. Watch the videos and everything. It really, really means the world to me. So next thing on my little list here, and I got a little paper list here with a couple of notes written on it so I don't get too scatterbrained. I had a couple of people tell me how much they like my Captain Carnivore name, which is kind of cool. I wanted to give a quick backstory on the name itself. Not that that's really anything radical or anything, but it is kind of funny. So I have a stepson who's he's delayed, mentally challenged, so to speak. I think he's 35 years old, and I've raised him as my own since he was about 5. And so he calls me dad, and then he's my boy. But anyways, if there's any gray hair on my head, if I have any hair left, that young man is what, actually I got more of it right here to show off, but that young man is responsible for most of it. But anyways, so many, many, many years ago, I mean, he was maybe, I don't know, 8, 9, or 10 years old. I started calling him Captain Chaos. And because it was so fitting, and it still is to this day. I go see him a couple times a month. My wife and I do, of course. And he doesn't he thinks something is up if I don't refer to him as Captain Chaos. So anyways, back to my story, back to my original origin name. So as I was sitting there trying to figure out what I'm going to call my channel back in the day, I thought, you know what, carnivore, it's going to be a carnivore channel, of course. Captain Carnivore. I was like, that's a no-brainer. So that's the nickel tour backstory of the origin of my channel name. So you've lost about 14 pounds. I started 17 stone. Okay. I'm doing fine and glad you did it. Boy, let me tell you, that is awesome. I'm serious. That is fantastic. I mean, the success stories. I mean, obviously you can get on the YouTubes right here or anywhere else and find a lot of success stories. And the funny thing is I'm sure they're out there, but there's not very many failure stories, really. There is. I mean, let's face it. Carnivore lifestyle isn't for everybody. So, I mean, for the most part, it works, it's great, and it has for me, has for you. And I love hearing these success stories. I mean, so you've lost 14 pounds. I got to get up here close. I got my camera and computer. I got my setup here all wonky. Anyway, so you lost 14 pounds in 6 weeks. That is phenomenal. Phenomenal. All right. I'm happy and I'm proud of you. That is great. Keep it up. I'm supporting all people that get on board and at least give it a fair shake and a try. I mean, carnivore is it's an endeavor. It's a worthwhile thing for me personally, and it can bring a lot of positive changes to a person's life, not in addition to the health benefits. Anyways, and weight loss and all that fun stuff. So, let's see here. What else I got in here? So lately I spent some time thinking about other aspects of the carnivore lifestyle, so to speak. And I've been really focusing on not all the deep dive stuff, like the actual the biology behind it, stuff like that. And I'll be upfront and brutally honest, because I've had a lot of people say, "Hey, what's your and you name it, macros, your all the technical stuff." And please don't take this the wrong way, but I don't know and I don't care. If I'm going to be brutally honest, I care, but the point is that I'm a results individual, and I've been doing this for 3 years. Coming up, next month will be 3 years, and the results are, they scream loudly to me, and they did rather early on. I mean, obviously in the very beginning, I went through the big hurdle of getting past the body shock of going into a carnivore lifestyle. But when you get past all that, things really, really changed, really dialed in for me. But then I started thinking here, not that long ago, started focusing on whys, not like I said, not the details of, blood count and macros or all that kind of stuff. It was more of a lifestyle type point of view. And I came up with the simplicity. One of the things that the carnivore lifestyle has done for me is made my life simple on a lot of different points of view, ranging from how I shop, ranging from how much time I spend actually cooking, ranging from trying to decide from day to day what I'm going to cook. And there's a whole list of other things that it has affected as far as keeping, as far as making my life a little bit simpler. And then I started thinking like, well, then what is that going to lead to? The simple life, or simpler things in my life. I'm 55 years old. So anytime I can find a way to simplify anything in my life, by God, I'm on board. And then I realized, what this does? This makes this turn into a routine. If it's going to be simple and it's something that I like doing, it doesn't take long to realize that it's going to turn into a routine. And routine, obviously, that's, day in, day out, same time, same station, that kind of attitude. And that's what in the beginning, I'm telling you, there was nothing routine about it because I was all discombobulated. I didn't know if I was coming or going. trying to find my way through the dark here in regards to what am I doing? Hell, half time I was wondering why I was doing it. And as soon as one of the things that really clicked with me was everybody talks about the brain fog. As soon as that, and it's a real thing. I'm telling you, it's a real thing. And boy, when it lifts and your brain kind of kicks in, then the light goes on and life becomes simplified and routine oriented. And finally that led me to the final stage of realizing that this is sustainable. And the reason why it's sustainable is because it's simple and it's routine. And so I call it the SRS. Simple, routine, and sustainable. And I've got it written down all over the place over here. Not that I'm going to forget, but it kind of reminds me of just how important having something that's simple in your life and that's routine and sustainable. And one of the things that I realized, because I don't refer to carnivore as a diet anymore. A lot of people say, oh, it's a diet. Okay. It's a way of eating, of course. If you're a vegetarian, you're on a vegetarian diet. If you're carnivore, you're on a carnivore diet. And that's great. But, and I've said this in one of my other videos here recently, I look at a diet as almost as a temporary thing. And like I'm going to go on a diet. Oh, that's great. And maybe you should go on a diet. I mean, maybe everybody should go on a diet. Hell, I don't know. But what are you just going to go on it for a while? It's kind of like going on a trip, I'm going to go on vacation. Well, vacation means when you get to the end of your vacation time, you're going to come back home and go back to your old routine. You know what I'm saying? So as soon as I started realizing like, okay, if I keep referring to this as a diet, it's possible that it might be temporary, and I don't want it to be temporary. I want it to go forever. So then it becomes a carnivore lifestyle. And what's my lifestyle? Well, I eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. It's the carnivore diet. So I stopped referring to it as diet just because it reminded me of going on vacation, which is a temporary thing. So anyways, that's my 2 cents on how I like to look at the effects of the lifestyle, not just the details of like, well, what do you eat specifically? Well, I eat meat. Well, what do you mean you eat meat? Well, I take some hamburger out of the freezer and I thaw it and I throw it in the damn pan and I cook it and I eat it. Sometimes I put some salt on it. I'm a big smoked salt guy. So, I mean, I got all kinds of smoked salt and that's my seasoning of choice. And maybe once in a rare occasion, I'll put just a teeny little bit of yellow mustard on there. And that's being a rebel for me. That's really mixing it up. Anyways, the details of eating carnivore for people that are new to it are curious because it kind of goes outside of their normal routine. And so when you're deviating from your normal routine, well, everything is strange and uncomfortable and inconvenient. So these are things that we carnivores, I guess, eventually had to deal with and overcome. So anyways, going down the rabbit hole of the SRS, the simple routine sustainability. Let's see. Oh, we got another comment. I love it. Okay. I'm thinking of more clearly. Yep. Shopping is simple and the best thing I have done for my health. Boy, let me tell you, isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? I told a story here not too long ago in one of my videos. My wife and I've been married to the wonderful woman coming up on 27 years. And we're best friends. But every time that for decades, we would go shopping, grocery shopping. And of course, we got a busload of kids and grandkids and all that kind of stuff. We'd walk up one side of the aisle. I mean, it kind of reminded me. I don't know if anybody remembers the old VHS videotape rental days, where you'd go to Blockbuster or whatever your video store was, and you'd go in there trying to pick out a movie to watch. If you didn't go in there knowing what you wanted to watch, you spent 3 to 4 hours looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of movies trying to find one to watch when you could have watched 3 of them in that amount of time. Same thing when I went grocery shopping with my wife. We never knew what the hell we wanted to buy or eat. So we would walk up and down the aisles. I mean, if people were watching us on a security camera, I don't know if they were thinking we were going to shoplift or something. But anyways, it was comical. Now, if I'm shopping for myself, I go straight to the egg counter, grab some eggs. If I'm low on eggs, go to the meat counter. I know exactly what I want. And I get the hell out of there. I mean, it doesn't seem like a big thing, but when you take those little simplified things like that I did in my life, and you compile it with how fast and easy it is and convenient it is to make the food, all these little things add up. And before you know it, I've added an hour to my day or whatever. And every little bit helps. Every little bit helps. So we've got some other people on here. I asked earlier when I first started, I wanted to find out where everybody's coming in from. We've got Alfonso. I hope I didn't kill your name there. Too bad. You're coming in from Scotland. Where's everybody else coming in from? I'd love to hear where people are coming in from. Scotland. I've got one Scotland so far, which is absolutely incredible. 8 p.m. In Scotland right now. So I learned something new every day. So I turned my paper over here so I can keep track of, I don't want to get too far off track. So let's go back to simplicity for a second. Upstate New York. Fantastic. Lisa is from upstate New York. Well, welcome. That is awesome. I love hearing where people are from. It kind of reminds me that there's a world out there. I'm not stuck here, but I'm here in North Idaho, which is quite lovely, and we love it here. But anyways, so I wanted to go back for a second and talk about the simplified parts of life. And I'm not necessarily talking about carnivore in particular, because it really can resonate with life in general. So about a year ago, at my current place of employment, which is a large manufacturing facility not too far from here. All right, John's coming in from Kansas. Nice, welcome. So I got the notification that I was automatically involuntarily volunteered to partake in a class at at work. And so I was like, well, I guess, I mean, it's part of my, just part of what I got to do. So I go to I obviously I attend the class. It's a 6-week long class, taught 2 days a week. I mean, it's very intensive thing, but in the very beginning, I had no idea what we're doing. Well, what it is what it was, and what I'll tie into with simplicity here in a moment. What it was is it was a good class, but that's not my point. The class was in regards to how to communicate with your fellow coworkers, how to resolve conflict, doing a deep dive on, honestly, what I thought were fundamental aspects of being a good person. And this went on for 6 weeks. I mean, we watched 50 hours of videos, and I'm not saying that anything was bad about it. The message behind it was actually fantastic. Yeah, you should be a good person. You should resolve conflict civilly. You shouldn't, you shouldn't act out in anger and then hold resentment for, the rest of your life and all those kind of things. But when I got done with the class, and of course they only stuck like 15 or 20 of us in there, and they had to do it over a period of 6 months because the company is quite large. But anyways, people were coming up to me and after I got out and saying, well, so what's the class all about? Nobody's, and I said, I think you probably should go through the class, but I could probably tell you in about 2 sentences the whole entire thing about the class, about being cordial to your fellow coworkers and being kind and resolving conflict. But the point is that something that I felt was very, very simple and fundamental and basic, got roped into this great, big, huge, complex thing. And I started thinking about that in regards to eating carnivore, or I should say eating, I'm here in the States, so I'll call it the standard American diet. You're basically, you're just stuffing your face with, whatever the hell comes out of a Mylar bag or a styrofoam container, clamshell container from McDonald's or whatever. But the whole entire eating regimen is chaotic. Half the time you don't know what you're going to eat, when you're going to eat, or how you're going to eat, or if you have to make it, or whether you got to go jump in your car and drive across town to go grab a hamburger or something. It's chaotic. And so I started thinking all these things that I've encountered in my life, like this silly class. It's not silly, but the class that I went to it wasn't a chaotic class, but it was 6 weeks of basically learning something that I had assumed was second nature to everybody. Well, it's not second nature to everybody. I mean, maybe it was second nature to me. Maybe I'm the odd one out. But a lot of people took a lot from it, which is great, which is kind of like the way carnivore is, Everybody, I ate the standard American diet for 50 years, over 50 years, and so and then that particular way of eating, your lifestyle is so ingrained that it's like, really, there's another way to go about this. So a lot of people took a lot of things out of that class. I took a lot of things out of it. I just took a lot of it to the point where, like, you know what, this is pretty basic. It's just like eating carnivore. It's pretty basic. It's pretty simple. Now, I will say there's a big difference between simple and easy. Those are two different things. They may sound this, they may invoke a thought of being the same. It's simple. It's easy. Well, simple is like, I can write something down on a piece of paper, and it's simple. I can draw a box on a piece of paper. Now, if I go and make a box out of a piece of wood, well, that is simple also, but it's not as easy as writing it on a piece of paper. If that simple analogy makes sense. So in other words, we can sit here and talk about, eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, or eat steak, or eat burger, whatever your chicken, whatever your choice of protein fat combo is that's animal based. And yet some people will look at it and go, well, that sounds simple. And it is simple, but making the transition to do it, not necessarily easy, especially when you're violating your lifestyle. And so then you have to start thinking, well, what makes people go down this path? Obviously there's health benefits. A lot of people are trying to alleviate a multitude of health problems, health issues, weight loss, all these kinds of things. Basically the big why. Everybody wants to know, well, why are you doing this? Why that? Why are you willing to change your lifestyle? And that's a huge question. And it's different for everybody. I'll give you the nickel tour of my backstory. So a little over 3 years ago, I'm listening to a podcast, And the guest of the podcast was none other than the great Dr. Ken Berry, who I had known of, not as an influencer necessarily for, advocating carnivore or anything like that. And so he's talking to the host of the show. He's talking about keto. He's talking about carnivore, all these things. And he says, the one line that he said was that, oh yeah, so on carnivore, you can eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, and you can eat as much as you want. And so I was like, it was like one of those massive pause things. You're like, wait, rewind that last 15 seconds. What did this guy just say? You can eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs, which, just so you know, are my 4 favorite things in the world as far as food goes. And you can eat as much as you want. I like, that's it. That's what I'm going to do. I didn't have any known ailments, and I still don't. I wasn't overweight, or I wasn't trying to accomplish anything. I just heard Dr. Ken Berry tell somebody on a podcast that you can eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. You can eat as much as you want. And I was sold. Now, I did take a few extra days before I embarked on my journey to kind of educate my, like what the hell is going to happen to me? Well, I don't have to tell you what's going to happen to you. It's somewhat unpleasant, but it's also quite temporary. So I prepared myself for that. The obvious transition that your body is going to go through, and powered through it, like most people that encounter the huge change in lifestyle. And see, that's just it. The lifestyle, I don't have to do that again. And now if I go back to eating my old habit ways and decide that I want to try the carnivore road again, probably going to go through that, what the military folks would call hell week. So give or take a little bit, a little bit more, a little bit less as far as the hell part and the weak part. But anyways, that's kind of my nickel tour of my carnivore story. And I haven't looked back since. Now, I will tell you, I've talked about this before, and I'll bring it up again. So I am a recovering alcoholic, and when I went carnivore, I was still a drinker. And so you could make the argument that I was eating carnivore, but I wasn't drinking carnivore. And this went on for just a little over a year. And it was an interesting struggle mentally. Like, when you're an alcoholic, and I've been a drinker for 35 years. So, I mean, it wasn't like I just started 6 months ago. No, it was part of my routine, which I had told myself, and I had lied to myself, that it was sustainable being an alcoholic. Well, it's not. First thing to do is quit lying to yourself, or quit lying to myself. Right. And when I finally I got really, I had convinced myself, like, okay, eating carnivore, this is not a big deal. I got this. And yet I still had this crutch, still carrying around this burden, this drinking burden. And then it was a matter of just coming to grips with my own honesty to myself. And just, it's like one day you just go, you know what? I'm done with it. I got to be done with it. My wife and my whole entire family, for that matter. I wasn't your angry drunk uncle or anything like that. I was quite the opposite. But that's not the point. When you have an alcoholic in your life, or if you are one yourself, and you really come to grips with the fact that you're probably destroying yourself and not making your family probably any better off for what you're doing, you come to grips with the fact that you need to change. And so, I just woke up one day. It's like, well, that's it. I'm done. And I have been for almost a year and a half now. So, which is fantastic. That's to me, that's a huge, well, that's a lifestyle change. I changed my lifestyle again. So I was asked a couple of times, like, well, what do you think? What kind of role do you think you being on carnivore played with kicking the habit, the alcohol? And the more I thought about it, the more I realized that it was probably a huge contributing factor. Huge. I mean, obviously, you don't need to be carnivore in order to be successful quitting alcohol. That's not the point. And this is just for me. And obviously, both eating, when you're addicted to carbs and sugar and everything else like that, that is completely destroying our bodies, as I have been convinced of. The alcohol does the same thing. It's an addiction. And so I realized, like, you know what? I have successfully changed my lifestyle with eating beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. It's a carnivore diet, carnivore lifestyle. And this is going to be a cakewalk. And that's what I told myself. And it was. I shouldn't say that it was. Anytime you're altering your lifestyle or your routine, you don't kid yourself. It's not easy. But what it was plausible. And when I have plausibility, in other words, I know that I can do this. I can do this. I asked my wife for her support. She gave it to me. And I've told the story before. It's when my favorite drink was an old fashioned. So I had lots of good, really nice bourbon on hand. Anyways, I didn't, some people say, well, did you just dump it down the drain right away? And the details of your alcoholic recovery type of thing. And I said, no, it was sitting right there on the shelf, staring at me for about 6 weeks, 2 months. And finally, my wife was at the kitchen sink, and I just asked her, I said, please dump all that stuff down the drain. I am, I don't need to have it reminding me anymore. It was almost like I kept it to remind myself, like, listen, you've got to be strong with this. And finally I got to the point, like, I don't even need it looking at me anymore. So I dumped a couple of $1,000s worth of bourbon down the drain, but it's better off there as opposed to destroying myself or anybody else that might drink it. So anyways, so we've got John from Kansas. We've got Alfonso from Scotland, and we've got Lisa from upstate New York. Anybody else want to jump on and be brave and let me know where you're coming in from? I'd love to hear where you guys are tuning in from. And in the meantime, I actually made myself a Captain Carnivore Campfire Chat mug last week. I think it was last week. Anyways, get a cup of coffee here. Great. I got coffee in my mustache. Anyways, so what's up? Is there any? Oh, hello from rainy Maryland. Bonnie Sue. Hi, Bonnie. I'm glad you made it. Rainy Maryland. Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's springtime all over the place, at least in our neck of the woods. So, yeah, I mean, if it's raining, that must mean it's springtime, I guess. So, but anyways, thanks for dropping in and making the acquaintance of your where you're tuning in from. That means the world to me. I appreciate it. So we're kind of going to go open forum here. As you well know, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing here. I'm just having fun talking to people, through the YouTubes live and all that kind of thing. But does anybody have any questions? Anybody have any thoughts? What is everybody going to eat tonight? I took out some burger patties. I'm going to have burgers with butter and smoked salt. That's about my 90% meal that I'm going to have. But drop in what you guys are going to have just for fun. I know I'm going to try to. Obviously, I'm trying to make these lives every Friday at the same time, same station type of thing. I'm going to do the best I can with that. And I'm going to try to have some, I don't know, some format. Yeah, I'm going to try to halfway professional, which is going to shock anybody that would ever know me as being like Luke being professional. The guy's a 55-year-old child. So, anyways, as you can tell, I got all kinds of crap on the wall behind me. So I noticed that my friend Ron isn't on here. Last week he jumped on, and I was talking about getting all this is my 3D printed stuff. I'm a big 3D print fan. And he said, you're going to need to 3D print yourself a new Captain Carnivore Campfire Chat sign. And I didn't have time to do that. But what I did do, just for fun, I did print a little fire, and it's got a little tea light in the middle of it, and it's flashing. So I leave it on all the time. And at nighttime, it looks like there's a little fireplace, little campfire going up here. Anyways, just a little trivial fun stuff. Burgers and bacon on the grill tonight. What time do we show up, John? I'm there. Yeah, sounds like a fantastic. I mean, oh my God. Burgers and bacon. I mean, enough said. Enough said. I love it already. I love it already. So I think one of the segments, as I sit here and think about, you already ate today, chuck roast and scrambled eggs. Bonnie, I wouldn't fault you for that. I bet you're not angry at that either. That sounds fantastic. I love that. I love that. Scrambled eggs too. Now my wife isn't carnivore, but I throw down some scrambled eggs and some bacon in front of her, and boy, she's a happy camper. She is a happy camper. So one of the segments I've got I'm getting some comments here. I'm going to keep up with you guys. So I'm going to try to keep my train of thought, and I'm going to keep reading some of your stuff here. So Bonnie, you already ate. Lisa, I already had my meal today, trying to practice fasting in the evening. Good for you. Feeling much better as I am going to bed on an empty stomach. Do you have any thoughts on fasting? Oh boy. Okay, Lisa. And Alfonso's got beef burgers and sausages and eggs. Dude, I'm over there too. I'm with you. Okay, Lisa. I have to preface this with, I ain't no doctor. I'm just some guy on YouTube. There, we got that out of the way. But I have fasted several times. And any thoughts on fasting? So let me tell you my experiences. And I'm going to have to apologize on a completely different thing here. So I've got two lights shining on me, but they're battery powered. So if they go off, I'm going to have to jump up and turn the lights on in the room. Anyways, I got that out of the way. Sorry. So fasting. So I knew that there's a lot of benefits for fasting, autophagy, look it up. I don't even know much about it other than the fact that your body is dealing with dead cells and whatever else. You're healing yourself. Anyways, all the benefits. So I thought, okay, I'm all in. I do like 5 minutes of research to try to find out, okay, what do I got to do? It's real simple. Stop eating. Okay, fine. There you go. That's the simple part of it. Now, that's the simple part, but that's not the easy part. And I think that you're referring to thoughts on fasting in regards to, some of the details. Now, I'll give you what I was up against. So I work the night shift. So I go to work in the afternoon, and you may say, well, what the hell does that matter? So like, well, my normal eating regimen is I stuff my face about an hour before I go to work. And what that does for me is it keeps me full all night long. Obviously, I mean, to a point where there's no snacking involved or anything like that. Now that's my normal eating regimen. Now, when I went on to my very first, I did 100-hour fast. What is that? Like four days and 4 hours or something like that. And I think I've done 3 of them so far. But anyways, the first one, I didn't know what was going to happen. I mean, do I understand that I'm not going to kill over and need a gurney to get out of my house here? No, I knew I wasn't going to be like that. but I did not know what to expect physically, mentally, and all these kinds of things. And so what I did was I took 2 days off of work. I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I don't need to be doing, I don't need to be experiencing things that I don't even know about while I am trying to work. So that's one thing that I did, was prepared myself. Now, you're going to bed on an empty stomach. Probably a good idea, in my opinion. I go to bed on an empty stomach because I eat before I go to work, and I'm back 12 hours or 13 hours later, or however long I hang out at work sometimes. But I come home and I go to bed on an empty stomach. And I don't know if it seems like a really good idea. I'm not a doctor. I have no idea, but that's what I do too. And it simply works. Now, when it comes to fasting, I did, like I said, I did a 100-hour fast. I've done 3 of them. And the very first time I did it, it was, I don't want to say it was a religious experience, because that's not my channel direction, but it was pretty heavy. It was pretty heavy. And I'm talking like on a mental status. I mean, my body really, the first thing you encounter, at least for me, when I was doing that kind of fast, was the food noise. Everybody talks about the food noise, the hunger. And yeah, when I got to hour 20, I'm thinking to myself, are you sure about this? Yeah, you're just getting started. I mean, you're just getting started. And as soon as you commit yourself, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, I've already taken 2 days off of work. I can't back out now. But it was a very, very short period of hunger noise that I had to go through. And in the meantime, I'm pounding water. And now I did mention before, I drink coffee. And what's going to happen if you don't drink coffee, if you're a coffee drinker? Well, you're going to get a headache. It must be that caffeine that they talk about. And I don't want headaches. I don't want to go through a headache. I'm not trying to quit coffee. I'm just trying to quit eating for 100 hours. That's what I'm trying to do. So I would have like 2 cups of coffee a day. And, some would argue like, well, you broke your fast. No, I just kept myself from getting a headache. I didn't look at it as being breaking a fast. I didn't sit down and eat 1.5 pounds of meat with 3 eggs and some bacon. No, I didn't do that. I just had 2 cups of coffee, and I drank lots of water with my electrolytes, let's face it. So when the noise got done, and it went by pretty quick, as far as probably about probably a third of the way through, we'll call it hour 30-ish, the hunger was completely gone. And that was an eerie feeling. And when I say eerie, I'm talking like, if people would think that it's a compounding effect. The further you get along, the further you go, the more food noise. It's almost exponential, you would expect. Like, oh my God, I'm a day into it, and I could eat the cutting board all by itself. I mean, and you would think that kind of goes and perpetuates itself, and it doesn't. It was like you kind of ramping up the hunger noise, and it went and right straight back down. And I was like, now this is strange. So I was like, okay, one thing on carnivore that I've learned is I listen to my body. I mean, it's full of signals. If it's telling you to do something or not do something, pay attention. Your mind and body are connected together, but they're not, if you know what I mean. Anyways, my body was saying, you're not hungry. You're not hungry. Don't eat. You don't have to. Everything's fine. The body, I got you. I got you. So day 3 rolls around, still no hunger. I mean, now I'll be honest. When I say there's no hunger, I mean, there's no ravage hunger. When I went to go make my wife something to eat, and I do most of the cooking. I love my wife. And so I make all the great things that she loves to eat. So I'm sitting there making my wife food, and I'd be disingenuous if I said that, that I didn't feel like reaching in and grabbing whatever the hell I was making for. I mean, when you don't eat for 35 hours, you could get hungry by looking at food. Anyways, oh, somebody dropped in to say hi. All right, secret. All right, I appreciate you dropping in. Where are you from? So, anyways, I'm weaseling my way through my very first fast, and jumping to the finish line. I have to admit, the last 4 hours, it was like waiting for Christmas morning as a kid. Like you're just going, okay, everybody wake up. I got presents to open, and I'm thinking, so I started thinking, okay, I'm going to get my food ready. I'm going to get my meal ready. I'm going to break my fast. This is going to be the best day ever. And don't get me wrong, it was the best day ever. But the strangest thing, and this happened to me, I don't know if it's happened to anybody. I don't know. I don't know. But when I got to hour 100, the clock went ting. I almost had a feeling of guilt about eating because I wasn't hungry. I almost thought, I could easily go another day. My body isn't giving me the signal to eat anything. And yet I had only taken enough time off of work to accomplish this task, this fasting task. And of course, after you don't eat for 100 hours and then you eat, then I'm thinking, now what the hell is going to happen to me? I survived the fast, but I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow type of thing. So I had it, as it is, it's all worked out, but it was a learning experience. And